says that invested interest, it's difficult to get people together, like it's difficult to get parents together to come together and try to work things out, which is really absolutely essential. It's something that isn't natural for different areas, whether that be social services, health, courts, to actually come together and think. They tend to stay apart, rather like parents in conflict. Getting them together is really what we must do. Are there any points that people want to raise now?
My name is Patricia. I'm a solicitor doing family law, a lot of private children work, but I'm also the trustee of the Accord Centre, which is one of the specialist contact centres. I heard last night that we are now going to have to deal with matters that are sent to us by Cassell, and the centre has always assumed that 8 2-hour visits for assessments on contact were necessary. Cassell are telling us, no, that's not really necessary, you only need 4. And it's not just at the level of NIAS that there are problems, there are immense problems with contact centres. They're closing down. Ours is losing our funding because we're not getting enough money in for our assessments. And one of the best contact centres for problem families is going to disappear unless something is done about it.
And it's not big numbers either.
No.
Supporting contact centres is not billions. It's scarcely millions. It's terribly worrying. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I said as much this time last year when I lost the plot at the resolution conference. And I said if there was one thing that needed to be done urgently, it was to support the contact centres, and there are so many of these little, small, well-run, tightly run, cheaply run organisations around the country that need a few £1,000s. We're not talking millions, and they make all the difference. And if they go again like NIAS, what are the courts meant to do when they can't fashion an agreement which works, other than call on the local contact centre? And if it's going to close down.
Well, I can tell you, sir, how much ours costs to run, and it's under £300,000 a year, and it produces extremely good results. That is not a lot of money.
And saves hundreds of thousands of pounds in court time.
Roger, I just wanted to make one follow-up point in relation to the delay in getting CAFCAS reports. It's one thing there being a delay if at the end of 20 weeks you get a really good comprehensive report, but increasingly nowadays, and I'm not talking about NIAS, in a complex case you end up with a 9-page document with very limited analysis, and that's incredibly frustrating not only from the lawyer's point of view but also from your client's point of view, when your client knows what the difficulties in his or her case are, and then he sees an 8-page narrative without any analysis, and they ask you, well, why did you wait for that?
Are there any other points at all?
My name is David Goffelsman, I'm a childcare lawyer. I go to conferences repeatedly like this, and very often we have wonderful ideas, we have wonderful analysis of what's wrong, of what we need, what in fact we're already losing. And every time we're talking about funding problems, the government not prioritising children, not prioritising these issues, pulling money out of the court service, millions taken out of the court service over the last few years, and the court's really on their knees at the moment. Surely one of the bigger questions we need to ask, as well as all the detailed questions that we're good at, don't we need to ask a wider question as to what's wrong with the ethos of this government? How come we can find millions to do various other things? Why have human issues like families slipped down the actual money scale? The rhetoric is there, and it's really, really annoying when the rhetoric is there and we know that the money isn't. So isn't there a question that we could ask for a psychiatrist in the remark rule? Who could tell us what's wrong with government values? Why is this country sliding towards an authoritarian mode?
Try to make a fortune if I knew, but
well, at the end of the day, you will.
Maybe the problem is we don't need billions. If we needed $1 billion, we'd probably get it.
No,
it seems to be the way that people talk these days. Now, I agree that obviously funding is an issue. It's one of the topics. But I think at the same time, the one thing I think we've learned from what's been happening is it's no good throwing money at anything. It's no good just directives. Things need to be targeted and focused. We need to know what to spend money on. been happening is that there's been a directive and money's been thrown and it's just disappeared. I mean, very often, certainly in the health sector. I just don't want us to be involved in this money. I'm sure we do, and we'll have to look at that, but I think we also need to look at how, what we can do to get people thinking together about what's necessary and being very specific about what's needed. That's contact centres, for example, then that must be a point that needs to be made. Very specific how much they cost. So the specifics mustn't be lost in the general despair about funding. I don't think I know, because we need to move on. My great pleasure to introduce the next speaker, who's John Hemmings, who's a Liberal MP and chairs Justice for Families, and he's been very involved with a number of children and families going through the courts, and he's going to give a presentation to us now.
Well, I'd like to start with thanks for Roger. Congratulations to Roger, who's obviously believes in the Hegelian dialectic, in as much as you have those people who are quite part within the system, and also those people who are critical of the system. And one would hope that having the antithesis and the thesis, we might get a synthesis where we can get some agreement and ways forward. Now, in dealing with justice for families per se, we've been looking particularly at public family law. Now, if you look at my name, the first bit means basically that I was part of the furniture in Birmingham City Council for a number of years. So when I ceased being a councillor last May, they gave me this title, Honorary Alderman. But in fact, I'm still involved in running the City Council, which is one of the largest local authorities. It's the largest local authority generally. I think in terms of children's service, it's one of the largest because it's a unitary authority rather than being a county council like Essex or Kent, which may be larger in a children's services sense. My sort of academic specialism many, many years ago, much that I have the eating degree where you get an MA for eating a dinner on top of a BA, my BA was actually in physics, specialising in atomic theoretical and nuclear physics. So I come very much from the hard science angle towards these sorts of issues. And I got involved in this over a couple of years. And it's very important to emphasise at this point, there are very good practitioners working in the system. Where people will come to me is when they're critical of the system. That, therefore, is likely to be as a result of bad practice rather than good practice. I have social workers coming to me, I have barristers coming to me, explaining what's going on, telling me where to look for the problems. And that's where things start. Now, I haven't tried with the presentation to do one of these that comes up bit by bit, but I think it's important to look, and here we're talking about child protection, it is a complex system from end to end. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that's made is to try to lump too many things together. So when you have a baby dumped outside of a hospital by a teenage mother who wanted to hide being pregnant, that's a very, very different situation to somebody who can't cope with a teenager. That's again difficult to a sort of baby P type situation. And we make the mistake of trying to lump all of these things together. We're dealing with a wide range of situations. You have a lot of acronyms and abbreviations. I'm not going to go into all of them. But it should be about what's best for children. That's what it should be. But in fact, it's about key performance indicators. And the reason for that is that local authorities are driven by government to satisfy certain conditions. That management structure is imposed on practitioners. The General Social Care Council has a greater interest in employment accountability rather than accountability for judgment. Let's go on about Birmingham. Birmingham lost a star recently. Now, local authorities are a bit like small children at schools. They're motivated by stars. We used to have 3 stars, we only now have 2. And you laugh. And you laugh because this has motivated the key management team, and you know about CMTs and EMTs. Well, I've been part of the AMT, I'm still part of the leadership team of the City Council. These things do actually matter to council. So they are concerned as to why this happens. Birmingham lost a star recently, in part because of insufficient adoptions from care. Now, statistics do matter, but they need to be done on a valid basis. Now,